Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Dr. Herbert Harris, and this is Success Mentorship Call number 131. And our topic for today is your power of relationships. Your power of relationships. Let me remind each and every one that our topics are based on our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. And if you don't have one, be sure to get one on Amsterdam or on our special website, www.12uls.com. So let us dive into our program today. This topic, this idea of relationships is extremely important right now because so many of us have been experiencing this pandemic separation. You know, with the pandemic and with the challenges going on, there's been this um, process by which people are staying home, the lockdown, um, afraid of transmission of the virus. And so you're not relating to your friends and family. And there's so many instances of people being alone, even in the hospitals in their illness. And so when we think about this idea of relationships coming through this period, this is a topic that I think will help us because it is important, it is critical that we build relationships because human beings are relational animals, or relational creations, or relational beings. We often say that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Well, even more so, we are spiritual beings having a relational experience. Wow. Let me just say that again. That's something we want to focus on. We are spiritual beings having a relational experience. And so this topic, this success mentorship class today, 131, this topic, your power of relationship, we're going to be talking about what it is and how you can use it. This is actually going to be a two-part series because we're covering part of it this time because this is such a profound topic. I want to give an idea. We have two concepts: relational experiences and relationships. Relational experiences are interactions, positive or negative, that happen between human beings. Relationships are basically the quality and the nature of that relational experience. And so the point is, you always have relational experiences with people, whether it's a relationship. The nature of that experience, though, is the relationship. When we're separated and separate the way we have been for the last few months, there's been a lot of science, a lot of you might say issues about the fact that people are experiencing more anxiety, more depression, negative things happen, even suicides. And we have to say, well, why is that? And it is because when we are not in a relational experience with other human beings, there's a sensation of being cut off, of being alone, of really being separated from humanity. And so there's a spiritual principle that I want to just put a pin in right here that's important. And it says that when two or more are gathered on one accord, I am among them. I am is the making power, is the ability to get things done. And so there's a spiritual principle that when you put two or more human beings, two or more people together on one accord, that there's a third power created so that 1 + 1 is more than 2. So this idea of beings coming together to create a great power is a spiritual principle that can be used to transform your personal power into a collective power. So let's look at this idea of relationship. Relationship is like a seed to be planted. So whenever you plant a seed, you're literally interacting with the soil. So in relationships, when you interact with another human being, you're literally planting your seed in the consciousness and in the relational experience of that other person. On the other hand, relationship is like the soil in which the seed is planted. And so when you interact with another human being, they interact with you. And just as you plant your seed, the seed is really who you are, what you're about, the essence of your nature. When you plant your seed into their consciousness, correspondingly, they are planting their seed into your consciousness. I think Eleanor Roosevelt said that nobody can really disrespect you or hurt you without your permission. And so when we deal with the idea of relationships, these are really permitted or consensual experiences where you permit the vibration of another human being to interact with your space. And you, of course, project the vibration of your own humanity and beingness to another person's space. And so the seed is really who we are, the seed aspect of relationship. The soil aspect is really who we can become. And so when we put two people together and it's a positive, empowering relationship, then we can have great things, positivity, success, joy, happiness. When we put two people together in a negative relationship, the product manifests accordingly. Relationship is also like an instrument. You know, those of us who are musicians, if you can imagine, just say a trumpet. So a relationship can be like an instrument, a trumpet that played by itself is just a sound. But if you take that same trumpet and put it into with other instruments into an orchestra, the same sound that that trumpet may be playing by itself now becomes a part of a greater vibration. It now becomes a symphony. And so when we interact with other people, it's a lot like on our own, we are a sound. But when we interact with other people in a relational manner, we can become a symphony. So what is this thing that we share? You know, we often think about this. What is this thing that we share? And we're taking a lot from page 161 in the 12 Universal Laws of Success, the law of relationships. And we're talking there about the fact that every step of your success journey involves relationships. And so whether you are successful or not, to a large extent depends on the nature of the relationships and the extent of the relationships and the quality of the relationships that you interact with other people. So what is this thing that we share with others? There's a great story, an allegory, and it talks about the secret, the power to make things happen, the creative power that each of us has in our being. And it says that it's an allegory. It says in ancient times, the gods were sitting upon Mount Olympus and they were discussing when they were creating man, and they were saying, you know, this power to create, this God power, because we are the gods, then that which we create will be created in the nature of what we are. And so when we create man, we give man this power to create. We give man this power to make things happen. And so one of the younger gods said, well, you know, that is true, but, you know, we have to be careful because where we put this power a man can abuse it if his level of consciousness is not, we might say, a godlike consciousness. Then he may use this power in a negative way. So one God said, well, why don't we hide the power at the bottom of the deepest sea? And the older, wiser God said, no, man is very crafty and diligent. He will find a way to get there and get that power. Another said, maybe we should hide on the top of the highest mountain. Surely he can never reach that. And once again, the older, wiser God said, no, man has great initiative and ability and persistence. He will climb that mountain and find that power. So the older, wiser God said, let's hide that power to create, that power to make things happen deep within the soul of his very being. And so it is this God-given, this source-given power that is in us that we actually share through relationships. How we share this and the relationships that we permit ourselves to be in determines how this power is manifested in our life experience. So there are four basic relationships. There's the relationship with your source, with God, with the creator, by whatever name, your relationship with the source, that from whence you came. The second relationship is the relationship you have with yourself, your self-image, your self-esteem, the way you see and feel about yourself. The third relationship is the relationship you have with others. How do you interact with other people so that that harmonic two or more gathered on one accord gets the maximum benefit? And the fourth relationship is the relationship with things. Are you the master of things, or are things the master of you? And so it is the nature of relationships that determines the fruits that bear forth from that relationship. So there are two aspects of relationships. There are harmonic relationships, which we'll call, these are relationships, and I'll read from page 162. Harmonic relationships are relationships which are positive, encouraging, nurturing, and productive. They result in good health, happiness, love, success, prosperity, money, all of the good desires that you embody. Harmonic relationships are based on truth, knowledge, understanding, faith, courage, self-confidence, and respect. And so this aspect of relationships, we call it the harmonic relationships, are the relationships that create the life of your dreams, the things that you truly desire to be, to do, and to have. The other side of relationships are the dissonant relationships. And dissonant relationships are based on negativity, unproductive thoughts, unproductive habits, negative feelings of ignorance, of fear, of doubt, of dishonesty, of indecision. And so the world is created in a harmonic fashion. There are harmonic relationships that empower, and there are dissonant relationships that destroy and weaken. And so the essence of life is really, how do we move between the harmonic relationships and the dissonant relationships? How do we focus on the harmonic relationships? So let's look at this first type of relationship, this relationship with source, with the beingness that from which you are created. There's a spiritual principle, and it says that love the source, love God, love your source, that from which you come, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And so when you have a harmonic relationship, the heart is symbolic of your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is that part of your mind or your capacity that literally creates whatever thoughts you plant there, like that garden again. The same earth that grows a rose can grow the poison plant, arsenic. And so the heart is the subconscious mind, that ability to create whatever you put there. Your mind is your conscious mind. The consciousness in which you make the decisions of your life. And the soul is the superconscious mind. It's literally that connection between you and the God mind, you and the source mind, you and the creator mind. And so when you have a proper harmonic relationship with the source, that means that your conscious mind, your thoughts are congruent with your heart, your subconscious mind, and totally congruent and one with the superconscious mind, your source, the good mind, the God mind. And so when you are in a harmonic relationship with your creator, then all that you do is congruent with your destiny and the reason for your being here. You see, the interesting thing about the birds and the bees is they don't have that consciousness of choice, shall we say. The birds know how to fly. They know how to get where they have to go. The bees know what they must do. The plants, in other words, in the essence of their creation, their pattern of activity is already embodied. But man is very unique. And that is why in that allegory, that Garden of Eden, that man has the capacity, the knowledge of the fruit of good and evil. In other words, man has the capacity to choose. And so we have to choose a right relationship with our source, which means things like, for example, that we are able to suppress our ego. Many times when we have success and things, good things happen to us, we forget about that connection to the source and that source from which all things come, and we think that we did it, that we are the ones that have the power, that we made it happen, when it was really the result of a harmonic vibration between you and your source. And so it is from the source that we get the power. Let's look now at the relationship between yourself, self with self. If you are not clear on your source, where you come from, and the purpose for your living, then it will be very difficult to resolve the harmonic relationship with yourself. You demonstrate the right relationship between you and source by the way you relate to yourself, by the way you love yourself, by the way you feel about yourself, by the way you honor yourself. And so if you recognize yourself as a created experience, created being from an all-knowing source put on this planet to live out a purpose and a destiny that is necessary, then you'll treat yourself differently. Then you will love and value yourself differently. You see, love and value for yourself must be an internalized aspect of your being. Many times, the challenge is that many times in our early lives, during that first stage of life where our values, our behaviors, our understanding is given to us by other people, by institutions, by our environment, that if these people, these institutions, this environment is a negative one. You know, there's a great quote and says, people have challenges because they build walls instead of bridges. And so if you were if you were raised in an environment of criticism, of distrust, of fear, then you literally create the walls of criticism and fear around you to protect you from those things that caused pain as a child. So many times when people find in their later lives, when they get into relationships where love, right relationship is appropriate, they'll find difficulty in doing that because of the walls that they have built around themselves because of early hurts and early pains. So that relationship with yourself is so embodied in your self-esteem, how you feel about yourself. Because you see, life is a learned behavior. Everything that we are, we learned from someone. We come with the essence of our being, but so much of our life is determined by the environment in which we were raised and the people who we interacted with in those early years, when in that first stage of life, it was appropriate to receive instruction and values and knowledge from other people. So when we work to get our self-esteem in order, our self-image, how we see ourselves. If we were raised in an environment of criticism, we may always see ourselves as failures. We may always see ourselves as not quite good enough to do whatever is supposed to be done. So when we talk about this idea of relationship, this relationship with ourselves is important because when your self-image is intact, when your self-esteem is intact, and it is based on knowledge, love, courage, respect, faith, and confidence, then you are in a harmonic relationship with yourself. You must be in a harmonic relationship with yourself before you can create a harmonic relationship with other people. We're going to deal with that next week, how you create that harmonic relationship with other people and with the things around. So let's look back. Let's look. Number one, we talked about the ideas that relationships are critical to living a good and productive life. And it is because we are relational beings that to do, be, and have that we really want to do, be, and have, it will require relationships with other people, vibrations with other people, which if they are harmonic, are productive and good. If they are dissonant, they can destroy and hurt us. And so this first point is that we must always recognize that relationships are critical. Relationship with our source, relationship with ourself. Second point, we must strive to create harmonic relationships. How do we do that? We create harmonic relationships by the choices we make. So when we choose faith over fear, we're working to create a harmonic relationship. When we choose courage over insecurity, we're working to build a harmonic relationship. And so the relationships that we experience, we have the choice to change those things, which takes us to our third point. And that is this: we may not have the power to make a new beginning, but we have absolute power to create a new ending. And so when we look at this idea of harmonic relationships, when we look at it and when we examine where we are right now based on the lives that we're living, and when we see those lives as not being all that we want them to be, all that we know that they can be, the power of relationship says that we have the power to change the outcomes by making different choices in the relational experiences that we have. So now we can choose to suppress our ego and understand our oneness with the source, recognizing that we are here for a divine and special purpose, and that it is our destiny to live out the purpose of our creation. We can create a new ending by recognizing that we have the choices, we have the ability to choose how people relate to us based on how we see ourselves. And so it's always an inside job. And then finally, we use this power to create a new ending by assessing where we are right now, by looking at the things that work for us and the things that work against us, by making different choices, by once we recognize who we are, whose we are, and why we are, then make choices based on our destiny and our purpose rather than our appetites. And then finally, 3, to recognize and have total faith that when we harmonize with our being, with who we are and where we come from, then the world belongs to us. Then we have the capacity to interact with other people, to create powerful relationships where 2 or more gather on one accord, because now we bring to that relationship that which is necessary. And we have the ability to create a new vision for ourselves, knowing that the best is yet to come. This is Dr. Herbert Harris saying thank you so much again for being with us for Success Mentorship class number 131. And I'd love to ask you to do 2 things. One, to be sure to get our book, if you don't have one, The 12 Universal Laws of Success, on Amazon or on our website, www.12uls.com. And 2, join our Success Mentorship Network. All of the classes that we've done over this series will be placed there, that we are putting together over 300 audios and videos that we've done over the last 5 or 6 years to be there as a success vault for you to go and use as a resource. Sometimes you need to be recharged, and this Success Mentorship Network can give you that ability. Go to www.patreon, that's patreon.com/Success Mentorship Network. Join, become a part of our team. Thank you so much. Once again, this is Dr. Herbert Harris. See you next week, same time, same station.